I'm Emma.
And I'm Ellie.
And together we are
E Squared. Welcome back to another episode of Campus Chronicles.
The show brought to you by students for students.
And what are we doing today, Emma?
Today is kind of a special episode because it's or pretty much, maybe not to the day exactly, but it's our 1-year anniversary of us working at the radio station.
Well, it's my 1-year anniversary.
But not mine yet because I started like a week and a half later.
But yeah, pretty cool. Well, also, you'll be hearing us on Friday, so technically it's...
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying.
Yesterday
not on the dot.
Guys, but yeah, okay, cool.
But because it's our 1-year anniversary of us working here, we thought it would be a fun idea to do a show about trying new things and how it pays off to do that, because when we started working here, that was a new thing. And I also thought it would be fun to connect all these things that we're going to talk about to our experience with starting this very podcast that you're listening to right now.
Yeah, so, just like sort of tips and tricks on how to start new projects and how to get into the swing of things when it comes to things you're not used to. So,
yeah, and even, it doesn't even have to be a project. It can just be a new skill you want to learn, or even, I don't know, even a new show you want to watch. It's important to try new things, and college is a time for trying new things and learning what you're all about. So we thought this would be an appropriate episode for today.
Yeah, so why don't you start us off on the points then? Yeah.
Okay, so the first points that we have are the early challenges that you might face when trying a new thing. And these are just kind of things that are generalized. Obviously, they're not super specific to every single person, but these are the things that you might feel when you're trying a new thing. You might feel uncomfortable, and you might feel scared to step out of your comfort zone, and you probably feel a little uncertain because you're trying something new.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we first started this podcast, it was kind of exciting because our bosses were just like, hey, you want to do this thing that no one else has really done before other than Scott? And we're like, okay, yeah, sure. But also, along with that excitement was a twinge of anxiety because, we've never done podcasts before ever. And I don't know, most of my experience in editing just came from editing other people's podcasts. So it was definitely sort of a new thing for me when it came to, doing all this.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And we definitely, we had all these great ideas. Even, this is kind of a fun little, what's the word?
Factoid, I guess.
Yeah, insider look at our podcast. We actually had, I want to say 4.
Yeah, I think 4 ideas for the podcast.
4 ideas before we actually landed on one, and we pitched those to our bosses, and they were like, we like the one about the college. So we had all these ideas, and we didn't know what to do with them. So that was kind of a learning curve for us to figure out how to actually apply all these ideas that we had.
Yeah, and once again, that's another good thing to employ if you're working on a long-term project is, flesh out what your project wants to be before you start it. So this was originally supposed to be a fun fact show type thing. But, it's more topical to do college facts because we're in college.
Yeah,
so
and
we
so
want that. Yeah.
The idea from doing fun facts to college fun facts to kind of expanded to just doing a whole show about the college in general, about tips and tricks on things at the college, what the college offers, just things like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Another thing is you might lack confidence in yourself and your abilities and be scared of failing before you've begun the project in the first place. I mean, I know we did a lot because, once again, the whole anxiety behind starting a project and not being able to maintain it was a thing. I remember, just thinking, God, how are we going to do this every 2 weeks for the rest of our time here? But I feel like we've managed fairly well.
I think we have.
Connie Mac when we weren't being broadcasted.
Well, yeah, but that was Connie Mac. So.
Yeah. But yeah.
And that is kind of a cool thing to think about. If you're scared of starting something and you haven't even started it yet, how do you know that you're going to fail at it? All you can do is just step out of that comfort zone and try a new thing. And it always pays off because you either learn that thing wasn't for you, or you start learning a lot more about yourself through the process.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to try new things is essentially what we're getting at here.
Yeah, and then the last point we have a part of this is on a more logistical side. You might lack the information, resources, or the support to try a new thing. And that's okay because you just, reach out to people and...
Yeah, I think one of the best ways I've heard it put is, if you don't have the materials to fully realize a vision you have, whether it be a podcast like us or a creative project or some sort of, other project-related thing. The best thing to do is not fully try to create it at the moment, but create what you can. So that way, when you have the resources and the time and, all that stuff available to you, you are able to, sort of build off of what you already made.
Yeah, and I actually really like that sentiment. That's a good thing to remember when trying a new thing. And so, just another thing that kind of goes along with that we struggled with when starting this podcast, my bad, is we even struggled, just doing the first episode in general. It's one thing to have an idea, but when we actually sat down the first time and started talking to these mics, it's like a weird experience, and suddenly you have this mic in your face, and you're like, wait, what am I supposed to do? And then you forget how to talk. Suddenly, all your sentences don't make sense. You're like, wait,
Yeah, and then keep in mind, we had only known each other at this point for 2 months, so we were trying to guess the vibes.
Yeah. And then even another thing that we've had to learn through trying one new thing is we even had to learn how to write better emails to people, because when we reach out people for interviews, we email them, and that was a trial and error for sure of just learning how to write a more professional email, which is kind of funny, but it's don't be embarrassed because you're trying a new thing. Everyone has to try a new thing at some point or other, and it always pays off, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you start a new project, there are a lot of things you don't realize at first that go into it. With the podcast, emails, like you said, and then timing around everything.
Yeah.
And then trying to get each episode down exactly to a science so we have the perfect length, and then editing behind it, and then, fixing all the stuff up.
Yeah.
And, it's just
and sometimes you swear you've been talking for 10 minutes, and then we look at the time and there's we've been talking for 5 minutes, and we're
but yeah, a bunch of initial challenges and stuff like that. So it's good to keep a positive, open mindset about the things you're doing. So that way, even if you get overwhelmed, you can take a step back and sort of breathe and just sort of take it all in and see what you want to do next.
Yeah. And along with that, another way to overcome just the initial challenges you might face is to have an open mind. Just give yourself that grace. Say, hey, I'm going to try this new thing. It's okay that I'm not perfect at it right away. You know what I mean? And don't give up when you're not perfect at it right away, because chances are you're not going to be.
Yeah, it's like learning an instrument. I mean, the first time you pick something up, you're going to suck at it, probably, unless you're a prodigy or something like that. But for 99% of the time, you pick something new up, and you're not going to be amazing. And, the first step at getting good at something is sucking at something first.
Yeah,
so,
you just have to get out there and try it. You can't be good at something if you never try it in the first place. And then along with that, you need if you're trying something new and you're like, I just don't get this, but I really want to, go and ask for help. There's no shame in that, which is a sentiment we always try to get across. If you're struggling with something in your classes, in trying something new, just in general, it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, I mean, I know for a lot of my classes, especially, there are a lot of things that I've either missed or not gotten or just didn't understand at all.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you'll have to email a professor or ask, one of your classmates. And I guess this applies to everything, not just college. So, yeah, just don't be afraid to ask for help from other people, because 99% of the time, they'll be willing to help you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then the most important thing to remember when you're trying something new is that everyone starts somewhere, which we've already basically said, but I know that's a super basic antidote, but it's a really important antidote to know, because everyone does start somewhere. You can't get good at something if you never try.
Yeah, I mean, we started out with 2 mics and no idea of what we were doing, and we were on episode 13 now, I think. Pretty sure.
Something like that,
Yeah,
which is crazy.
So, yeah, we've come a long way in the around about a year now, almost, since we started the first episode.
Well, maybe not a year.
Well, it's
probably a few
10 months. I think,
yeah, something
I think we started
like
in
that.
December.
That's crazy.
Like that. So yeah.
And another important thing that helped us get to this point where we are now is that we told each other when we were struggling, I'm just having an off day today, And the fun part about our podcast is that we can edit out our mistakes,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
And
But
we'll never
also,
know.
it's important to not judge each other because sometimes you're just having an off day, and that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know sometimes I'll come into work, like, dead tired, and then Emma's also dead tired, and you just have to, accommodate around that. But, yeah, most of the time it goes pretty well. Just make sure you communicate with the people you're working on, or working with if you're working on something with other people, that is.
And use your mistakes as a learning experience. When our first episode didn't go as well as we hoped, we learned from it, and now we know, like, if we're having an off day, maybe we need a few more pauses, but it's okay because we can edit them out. And it's just using it as a thing to learn from instead of something to look back on and be embarrassed about helped us get better.
Yeah, especially when it comes to the awkward pauses thing, like, I remember during our first episode, I maybe had to edit out like 10 to 15
so many pauses.
sort of pauses. But now that we got into the swing of things, it's a lot better. I mean, maybe like 2 or 3 pauses per episode. I think we did one perfectly, maybe like episode 8 or something like that.
That was a good day. We were walking to lunch that day, like, oh my gosh,
fun.
we're so cool.
But yeah, don't be afraid to make mistakes, essentially, because you can fix them. And yeah, it's not usually that bad, so don't forget.
And then another thing about starting a new thing is you might get discouraged and then start feeling a little burnt out about it. But one thing that we do to combat that is just keeping a positive mindset all the time. Like, this is a cool thing that we're doing. Like, we get to have our own podcast. It's cool. And we help each other stay excited about new things that we're doing by being like, oh my gosh, I thought of this really cool idea. Or like, oh my gosh, like, isn't it cool that we get to interview this person next week? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, positive mindset especially is nice because, once again, we freaked out a little bit when we first started this podcast. And I don't think we would have made it this far if it hadn't been for, just, like, keeping a positive mindset about it and not trying to stress ourselves out with the fact that we have to do this, like, every 2 weeks. So,
and we keep bringing that up because I think it's important to know that even if someone seems super good at something, which I'm not saying we're like professional podcasters, but I think we're pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't start out amazing, I don't think, because it was just, us rambling on about stuff. And to be honest, sometimes it's still just us rambling on about stuff, but I feel like we've improved over the course of maybe.
And it's important to know that everyone, like I said earlier, everyone starts somewhere. And you just have to get out there and try it.
Yeah, and then another good thing to keep in mind when creating a new project is to say, consistent and motivated. Because, like, we started this project off and we were motivated enough to do it, I think, but we had to work on consistency a lot because, new workflow plus, our jobs that we already do already.
Yeah.
So, we had to sort of adapt around the 2-week schedule that we have to do. So once you figure out how you want your routine to work, it helps a lot because you don't have to panic or, flail around just trying to grasp at straws and stuff. But yeah.
And then another thing that's super important when it comes to trying something new is to be creative. I know that's super basic, but one thing that we do in this show, like, we always try to find new ways to keep the episodes fresh, and that requires a lot of creativity sometimes. Because, like, it might seem simple to think of episode ideas for our show, but we try to find new ways to, like, keep them exciting. Like the quiz episode that we did when we had to adapt around for Ellie's film class, we had a camera with us, so we were being filmed, and that was like a learning curve. And even if like you're in the middle of trying something new and you're like, wow, I really like this, but you want to try something new, a part of that, don't be afraid to, because there's always trial and error is very important. Like, some things don't end up working out, and that's okay. And you never know that they won't or they will until you try.
Yeah, I mean, like, think outside the box sort of solutions is what we're getting at here. Like, if you're stuck creatively, just take a step back and try to incorporate something new that you've never done before. And even if it doesn't end up working out, then you know that, it's probably not going to go in that direction for your project. Or if it does work out, you might find a new advantage that your project has now. So, yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh, I can take maybe when you first have the idea to start your project or just anything that you're trying new, you're like, I bet it's going to go like this. But then you actually start doing it and you're like, wait, I actually like that it's headed in the opposite direction that I thought it would. And it's just a fun little part of it that you just get to see where it goes and where it takes you. And yeah.
Yeah, and then this is a little off topic, sorry. But I remember during my, the art classes I had for my degree, 99% of the time, all of the projects I made never came out the way I expected them to. But I found it was okay because they still came out fine. And even though it wasn't exactly what I pictured in my head, I still enjoyed it because I followed the sort of creative flow and figured out the technical issues and errors, and I worked them out. And I was happy with the finished product. So if things don't go exactly according to plan, don't freak out because, it's pretty much going to work out as long as you just have a positive mindset and work around your problems and changes. So
and sometimes, like Ellie said, sometimes the projects come out even better than you could have thought.
Yeah.
Sometimes the initial idea you have obviously is not going to be the best idea that you have, and that's okay. There's always room for growth.
Yeah.
And like we've been saying this whole time, when you try something new, there's always something that you gain from doing that. So why don't you read the first point that we have about that?
Yeah, it kind of, helps with your confidence, first of all, because when you try something new, it might be scary and you might not be confident at first, but once you conquer that fear and get past that, stage of infancy and, whatever you're trying to do, it really pays off for your self-confidence because it's like, hey, I kind of was really bad at this thing, and now I'm pretty all right at this thing. I can do a lot more, I think.
And it helps you realize, like, if you're unsure of yourself at first, getting out there and trying it, it helps you realize, like, oh my gosh, I can do this thing. And in the future, when I have to try something new, maybe for my job or for a project for school or anything like that, you're like, I can do that because I've done it in the past.
Yeah, I mean, like, just take what you've known and what you want to know and sort of merge it, Just try to figure out the commonalities you have between, your prior experience and the experience you want to have and just see if it works out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it helps you learn more about yourself. It helps you get new opportunities in general. It helps you be inspired in life to step out of your comfort zone more. And that can lead to so many fun things like literally the other day, this is super cool and kind of off topic, but I promise I have a point. We got to ride in a hot air balloon because
that was fun.
That was really cool. And that's something that it was scary at first because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm about to go in the air. But just stepping outside of our comfort zone, like trying new things is important because it just like helps you grow as a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it was the only time I was actually happy to wake up at 6 in the morning. So
tell me about it.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely make sure to try new things because, comfort zone, all that stuff. But, and opportunities. Yeah, opportunities is a good point. Because hot air balloon was cool, but also, more practical stuff. Like, we get to interview people now that we've never, would have been able to interview beforehand.
We get to learn new things about the college we go to that maybe we didn't have access to before.
Yeah, I mean, we get to talk to professors and students and club leaders, and we got to go on the roof of the library, so that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. It just, trying new things helps keep your life more interesting. It helps keep it fun, and that's something I think is super important because then you don't fall into the same old stale routine, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's fine if you like routine, but if you feel like, things are getting a little too stagnant, I always like trying to shake things up in my life. Just try something new, challenge yourself to do something that you wouldn't normally do. Sort of like New Year's resolutions things.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't have to be New Year's, and, you just do it whenever.
Yeah. So. New Year, new you. And it could be, I don't know, whenever you want.
Yeah, just like, don't be afraid to challenge yourself. It's fine to challenge yourself, and if it doesn't work out, then you don't really lose anything.
Yeah. So, and a good challenge is always like, it's fun to have a challenge sometimes because it keeps things interesting. And it also helps you just know, like I mentioned earlier, I can do this. You know what I mean? It just helps you have that mindset of no matter what life throws at me, I'm going to get through it because I know I have in the past and I have the skills because I've tried new things that I can get through this.
Yeah, and so it definitely helps you overcome those fears and challenges and, self-confidence sort of issues or something like that.
Helps your self-esteem even.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm a more fulfilled and richer person, I guess, for starting this podcast and trying to go along with it. And yeah, I'm proud of how far it's come.
And even if it's just we've been doing it for almost a year, I also feel like doing this podcast has helped me feel more confident. It helps me feel like it's fun to interview people. It's fun to develop that new skill, and that's something I feel like I'm going to use later in life. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that moves us on to our next point. What are some things we might have learned from working here and doing the podcast for so long?
Well, like I mentioned, it's like one major thing I learned is how to interview people, how to conduct myself more professionally, how to email people, which isn't a big deal, but when you have to get into the nitty-gritty of it, it's an important skill to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then I feel like I've learned how to be more professional when it comes to, the interview process and how to phrase stuff and, just all that good stuff. And then, it's interesting because I've never spoken on the radio before, so that was cool. And, I learned a lot about how you should do stuff like that and the editing behind it. And, it's just really improved my skills overall, I think.
Yeah, it makes me feel like and of course now I can't talk when I'm trying to make this point, but that's besides the point. I just feel like I'm a more well-spoken person now, which is kind of funny that I was just messing up my words. But you know what I mean? Like, it happens to everyone. That's the point we're trying to get across. Just try new things, and it'll work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And on that note, I do believe we're out of time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was nice that you tuned in again, and we will see you on another episode of Campus Chronicles.
Yes, and we hope you enjoyed listening to this episode, and we will see you in the next one.
Yeah, take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.